Friday at 6 at the golf course.
That's the same thing that Tom was talking about. Anybody else coming to the trick or treat thing?
I'm going to.
I think is it the same as last year with the cauldron thing?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it the same one?
Oh, yeah, that was super popular.
Yeah. And we got really good feedback over it.
Bobbing for apples probably out this year. Might be a little stiff in the water.
Oh yeah,
Can't get it.
right through the ice.
Just step on its head.
You guys ready?
Good to go.
Okay, we're good on the administration side. Council, everybody switched over ready. With that, I will call the meeting to order at 9:51. Adoption of the agenda, administration, anything new on your side?
Just the request, if we can move 9.5 up to
Okay.
the first item on new
Yeah, we
business.
can definitely move 9.5 up, just for time with people we have online. And I would like to add a discussion in closed session under 12.3, under FOIP 17, discussion on our airport legal matters. Just, I guess in regards to the letter that we received here the other weekend. 12.3? Yeah. Councilor Prestige?
With that recent letter with Mr. Frank, should that be?
We can add that if you'd like to also. Personnel matters is FOIP.
We can do 17 also, Reed.
Okay, so 12.4, what should we put that in the,
Personnel.
or just personnel? Okay, I'll put that as a personnel. So 2 additions in closed session. Councilor Prestige?
Make a motion that council adopts the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Councilor. Any discussion to that motion? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thanks, Al. That's carried. 3.1, council meeting minutes from October 9th, 2024. Any errors, additions, omissions? I don't see there. Councilor Wilhelm?
A motion that we adopt the minutes of the council meeting from October 9th, 2024 as presented.
Thank you, Councilor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. So we will move 9.5, gravel road condition improvement program next. Whenever you are ready, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, worship members of council. Administration recognize how important good roads are for our residents. I personally heard loud and clear from councilors, from residents, from our staff on the condition of our roads, and our performance may not have been at the level of what people expect our performance to be. I recognize that we can certainly do better. This is what led to the preparation of this presentation and this proposed gravel roads condition improvement program. We have in the past 5 years, we experienced a reduction in level service that came in the form of reduced number of graders, the equipment getting older, we have staff turnover, we also have to the point some roads only getting graded at 1/4 of its level service compared with 2018 levels. And that those all collectively presented a challenge for administration as well as our residents, and that's fully recognized. We have implemented a number of pilots to deal with the challenges this year. The pilots include operator training, which is ongoing, including the use of wobbly cart to help with compaction, with additional calcium stabilization, with the use of water truck during warm spells, include increased maintenance on select roads, We also tried bringing additional staff from especially the Ford area to help out the Whitehorse Shop area to try to address temporary shortcomings. We have changed the practice of rotation-based grading to a more condition-based grading, try to address the hotspots. And in late September, we started a trial with a new piece of machinery called Handy Hinge Packer, which is on the next page of the slides. So all of these pilots that we have implemented throughout 2024, we are trying different things to see if it makes a difference to our road condition, and we do have lessons learned. Anytime you run a pilot, you get to learn something. And I want to acknowledge that some of the lessons learned from the pilots we have incorporated into this program that we are going to present. Sorry, I should have asked for a flipper.
Well, we will just have to draw it.
Oh, okay. I apologize, I forgot to sort out the technology side.
It's all right, Jeff, we have it in front of us here as well, so we've been following around.
Okay. So the next page, just some pictures showing the Handy Hinge Packer. It's essentially an attachment they put on the back of a grader. It helps with compaction after a road being freshly graded. I put some photos there to show you the without and with application of the Handy Hinge Packer, so you can see the condition of the road. We do believe it's helping the roads to tighten up a bit after grading. Next page, please. So in development of this program, the methodology we use is we look at the traffic usage, we look at the road condition, the road classification. We have gathered past experience from staff. We've relied on public feedback, staff feedback, and also investigate on the investment needs of each individual roads. We have considered funding impacts for the options that we present. We have incorporated our pilot program learnings, as I mentioned before. In total, we identified 14 segments of roads for us to study a bit further, and those 14 roads are being presented on the next page, but we also presented different options for each individual roads. The improvement option decisions impact budget, so that's why we have to incorporate them into the 2025 budget eventually under their respective sub-programs. Some of the improvement options are longer-term commitments. Some of them may require a few budget cycle to plan for it. The key I'm trying to make is if the desire is to implement all the recommended options, it's not possible for us to implement everything in 1 year or have to stage it. The recommended options are in bold when we flip through the pages, so just keep that in mind. The cost estimates may be reduced if multiple projects can be combined together. They're currently being estimated as individual projects. And lastly, the grading cost may be reduced if we do calcium stabilization. It's just something I cannot quantify to a degree of accuracy at this point. So in the presentation, you will see those numbers being presented separately. But keep in mind, if we're proceeding with calcium stabilization, then the grading cost may come down. There's the potential for that. So next page, please. Oh, sorry. I just want to explain on this page that the highlighted road segments are the ones we implemented as part of the increased maintenance pilot, just for context there. Next page, please. So when we dive into the individual roads, I'll let Paul take over.
Alrighty. Good morning, Your Worship and members of council, and thanks, Jeff. So for my for my portion of the presentation, I'll be going through inspection photos just to show the observation we had on the different 14 roadways. I'll also be talking about the required maintenance and improvement works that we've, or improvement options that we've considered for each individual roads. Yeah, so I'll be going through them, and if there's any questions at any point, please ask away. Now, before we dive in, just into the individual roads, just a number of common kind of observations we had includes, roadway width and cross-section consistency as compared to, our design guidelines. We've also noted shallow and/or overgrown ditches in, most of them. And we also noted material accumulation on the edges of the roadway. Now, these observations are simply inherent to gravel roads, and we will be looking at the opportunities available to improve them, but by no means the improvement options are, exhaustive, and definitely open to questions and feedback. Okay, so diving into this one, we're looking at Old Blue Ridge Highway, east of Trestle Road, or Township Road 594A. Next slide, please. Another photo of township of Old Blue Ridge Highway, showing some of the issues there. One thing I wanted to note here is the material accumulation in the guardrail and how low it's sitting. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the required maintenance work on this one, we have considered grading at once every 2 weeks. We have also considered selective ditching and shoulder pulling to kind of put that back into the appropriate widths, and including guardrail maintenance and repair here. For the improvement options, we've considered increasing the grading maintenance to maybe twice a week, and including calcium stabilization as well. For a third option, we've considered a hot mix paving, but for us to do that, we need to do some geometric improvements to the alignment of the road first, and a base course kind of installation. The next slide, please.
Can I just ask one question
Oh.
related to that? Sorry, I'm through the chair. When we talked about the engineering on this, and if this Old Blue Ridge Highway is to become and this is way out, I'm not saying it will, but if this is to become a paved road, I guess one of my questions would be, on the engineering side, what are we looking at for a speed limit? What has it been engineered for? And has council or anyone else weighed in on what we see the speed limit on that being? Because if you're gonna hard surface a road as a shortcut and you end up with a 70 speed limit still, you're kind of going in the wrong direction. But I just wanted to know from the engineering standpoint where we were on that.
Through the chair to Councillor Burrows, we have not done any engineering. I have seen this project being mentioned on the 5-year capital plan from the past. I would expect if we ever go to base and pave the road, we need to improve to speed limit similar to what's currently posted on the Blue Ridge side of the road, which is 80 kilometers an hour.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on to our to the next portion of the roadway here. We've considered the Old Blue Ridge Highway west of Trestle. So we divided Old Blue Ridge into 2 segments here. Next slide, please. So for this portion, we've considered grading once every 2 weeks as part of the required maintenance works, as well as selective ditching and shoulder pulling. For the improvement options, we have considered, similar to the eastern segment there, increasing grading to twice a week, and a calcium stabilization. And then as an option, we've also laid out hot mix paving with a base course. Next slide, please. So moving on to the next roadway that we looked at Range Road 120. Next slide, please. So this roadway kind of varied in width from 12 to 15 meters, and the length under consideration is 4.8 kilometers. For the maintenance works, we've considered grading at once every 2 weeks, selective ditching and shoulder pulling, and soft spot repair. For the improvement options, we've included for consideration grading maintenance, increasing the grading maintenance to once a week, and a selective calcium stabilization. And As options for consideration, we've also considered lime stabilization, selective lime stabilization, a double seal coat layer with a base course, and a cold mix paving with a base course as well. Just moving on to the next road that we looked at, Range Road 120. Just this photo shows, 121, sorry, pardon me. The windrow accumulation on the edge of the roadway there, and some ulceration in the ditches. Next slide, please. So for this particular roadway, we have considered grading at once every 2 weeks for the required maintenance works. And yeah, sorry, this roadway we saw it was about 10.5 meters in width, and the length under consideration is 4.9 kilometers. Going back to the required maintenance work, we've also considered selective ditching and shoulder pulling. For the improvement options, we have considered increasing the grading maintenance to once a week, as well as a selective calcium stabilization. So when we say selective calcium stabilization, that includes dust abatement as well, and then just an additional calcium for stabilizing the surface.
Just to ask one question, and it is kind of a common theme that we're seeing on a bunch of these gravel roads where under the observations, we just don't have the proper crown and cross slope on these roads. Is that and again, I'm not trying to point fingers or anything, because I don't know what this, but is that a training issue with the current individuals, or is this just the way the road was built and it doesn't allow for that? I'm just kind of, from your observations, what are you seeing? If we add more grader beats on these, will that help solve that? Or do we have to bring more gravel and develop parts of these to correct that?
Through the chair, I think it's a combination of many different things. Training is certainly one. Shoulder pulling is also necessary. With over the years, the roads getting punched out wider, and with a wider road, it's more likely for the road to be flatter. It's just how natural things are. With the training and with the shoulder pulling, we should be able to get the roads back to a proper cross slope of 3% to 4% in that range, and that's the typical range of cross slope on gravel roads.
Thank you.
If I may add as well.
Through the chair, I just have one question on the, so you'd mentioned selective calcium stabilization, and this is one of the issues that I'm running into is, so we've got it, and you mentioned the dust control as well. So we've got areas where we do selective calcium stabilization, but calcium is also used as a dust control, and we have a policy on dust control, but some people get dust control because it's stabilization, and that's an awkward policy, since the two are used kind of interchangeably, and I know that when you're doing stabilization, you're looking up more road and trying to get calcium driven deep. It's a little different than dust control, but it kind of messes with our dust control issues, and it confuses some residents, and so I'm wondering if council has an appetite to look at that as well, because it's something that I do hear quite a bit of. And there's free calcium put down for stabilization purposes, and then you have to explain, oh no, that's stabilization, it's not dust control. It's difficult for us, so we need a better grasp of this policy somehow or another, and I'm just raising the issue since it's right here in front of us.
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Burrows, it is a observation of today. Our program here does not change the difference in the two applications. We're still going to continue with this problem. So I agree with you. There's a need to look at the policy as a whole. All I'm saying is our proposed program here doesn't make the problem worse or better. It's going to continue.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not suggesting that you don't do it. I'm just suggesting that we need to figure out how to explain it and how to be fair with people paying with dust control right now where they weren't before. So.
Hey, please continue.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and if I may just add, just the lack of cross slope, like I said in the beginning there, it's just inherent to gravel roadways, something that we see over the years with gravel roads, especially if we don't do like specifically the shoulder pulling and like grading exercises specifically targeted to bring it back to the proper cross slopes. Alrighty, thank you for the questions. Just getting back on here. Next roadway that we looked at is Trestle Road, Range Road 111A. This particular photo shows how wide the road has been, especially at the curve, and the amount of material accumulation on the edge of the roadway there. Next slide, please. The roadway under consideration, we saw the width to be about 13 meters and length to be about 2.27 kilometers. And yeah, like for the required maintenance work, we have considered grading at once every 2 weeks, as well as that selective ditching and shoulder pulling to kind of bring it all back there. For the improvement options, we have considered, for consideration, increasing the grading maintenance at once a week. We've also considered selective calcium stabilization. This is where the comment earlier made that if and when we do calcium stabilization, we might see some savings in our grading. That's why we are recommending calcium stabilization here. And cold mix paving as an option with a base course. Next slide, please. Next roadway.
Sorry, Mr.
Sorry,
Chair.
Councilor
I just
President.
have one question on the Trestle Road, and I apologize for interrupting you so often. Given that we don't have our new software in, so if I get asset management right, our new software is gonna be able to actually tell us specifically what was spent on what road and where and how and why. We're not there yet, but Trestle Road is one of those roads that's very highly integrated with the town and could probably fit into some of that ICF discussion. So are we tracking everything? I just want to make sure that administration's live to that issue, because if there is a train derailment or something blocks those two accesses in town on those two railway, I guess it's 3 railway crossings now, you're going to have an issue in the town, and the only way out for the people on the other side of the tracks is through Flats and up Trestle. It's a very highly used road in town to access jobs in the county. So I just wanted to make sure we're doing that.
Go ahead, Rod.
Through the chair to Councilor Burrows, we met and talked about how in-depth we're able to track whether, and certainly we're not able to do it mile by mile, but we are able to set up projects. We could set up projects for specific roadways, especially if they're involved in cost sharing or something like that. So in those cases, that's not an issue, but we're not quite sure if we're gonna have 2-mile segments or 6-mile segments of road yet, because for every segment you add that you wanna track, that's one more thing the operator has to remember and track, and we're not sure that the data will be as accurate, but we are looking at that.
Thank you. Anything else in council? Councilor Prestige?
To the chair, to administration, our asset management, this was the reason why we pushed to get asset management, was we were trying to figure out how much money we were spending on Range Road 120, and we had no idea. And that's what council wanted to see at the time, was if we were doing the road, and we were doing one section of the road every year, we wanted to know how much money was spent on that section. And the answer we got was, we can tell you how much money was spent on the full 5 kilometers or whatever. Well, that wasn't a good answer, so we really pushed for the asset management, and eventually that's what we want to see. And it's not just for us, it's 15 years from now, the administration then can go back and say, oh, we spent X amount of dollars on that one section, maybe we should rebuild that section of road instead of just patching it. So I stress, we still need to have that in our asset management.
Feel free, keep going. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Yeah, just a comment. I think, yeah, kind of preaching to the choir on that one, but for sure, don't disagree. Alrighty, Bison Road or Range Road 113A. The roadway width we saw was about 11 meters, and we know that this was originally oiled or cold mix and previously pulverized. Next slide, please, there. And the
Through the chair to administration. When you're showing us the road width, it would be nice to know what the road width should be.
Councillor Will?
It said if you go down, Bruce, if you go under ditching and shoulder pull, the final width shows underneath there what it would be, what it should be. So if it's showing 11, it should be 9 after a shoulder pull.
Thank you. Yeah, and the length under consideration is about 1 kilometer. We have considered grading at once every 2 weeks on the required maintenance work on this one, and a ditching and shoulder pull. For the improvement options that we've considered, recognizing that this was previously oiled or cold mix, our recommendation is for a cold mix paving with the base course. But we've also considered increasing the grading maintenance to once a week, a selective calcium stabilization program, and as an option, a double seal coat layer with a base course. Just moving.
Councillor Will?
Through the chair to administration, can you explain what a graded aggregate seal coat double layer means, or what it looks like when it's completed? I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm. Chip seal and graded seal coats, they are just two different strategies when it comes to seal coat. Seal coat, it's basically spreading chips on the top of road surface with a thick oil binder. It's intended to provide a tight, waterproof wearing surface. If you do double layer, that gives a little bit more strength than a single layer. It is a viable option from other counties. People use this on other gravel roads. How does it look? It look yellowish in color. It's when you drive on the highway, sometimes you see the highway being seal coated. It's going to be looking very similar to that.
Okay. And does the loads capability on those types of roads, are they different than what a cold mix road would be? Like, the traffic, does it have a same life cycle? What's the life cycle on something like that as opposed to like a cold mix road? We consider cold mix roads to be somewhere around 5 to 7 years. Is it similar, or would it need to be reapplied in 5 years? What is that? How does that look like?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, if I can't ask you to hold your questions to the
Sure, no problem.
to the future
Absolutely.
presentation, we do have a presentation on that topic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, so maybe just getting back on the presentation, moving on to the next roadway that we looked at, Estates of East Mountain, or Township Road 585B 590. Yeah, this photo shows in particular washboarding right at the curve there. So next slide, please. The roadway width we saw about 9 meters, and the length under consideration is total of 3.6 kilometers. For the required maintenance work, we've considered grading at, grading at once every 2 weeks, and a selective ditching and shoulder pull. For the improvement options, we have considered increasing the grading maintenance to maybe once a week there, as well as for options, selective calcium stabilization and a cold mix paving. For the next roadway that we looked at Range Road 130, or the Eagle River Road. Yeah, this photo shows kind of the washboarding there, right off of the bend. Next slide, please. The roadway width we saw about 9 meters, and the length under consideration is about 2.8 kilometers. For the required maintenance work, we considered grading to once every 2 weeks, as well as ditching and shoulder pulling. For the improvement options, we are considering increasing the grading maintenance to say maybe once a week there. And we've also considered selective calcium stabilization. Next slide, please. For the next roadway that we looked at Tower Road, also Range Road 121. Yeah, this particular photo just shows just the material accumulation inside of the roadway. Next slide, please. The roadway width we saw was about 8 meters, and the length under consideration is 2.4 kilometers. For the required maintenance work, we are considering grading at once every 2 weeks rather, and ditching and selective shoulder pulling. For the improvement options, we are recommending increasing the grading maintenance to once a week and the calcium stabilization. Next slide, please. Moving on to the next roadway that we saw, we have Groat Creek Loop or Township Road 590. This photo shows the material accumulation on the side of the roadway and the washboarding. Next slide, please. For the roadway width on this one, we saw it was about 9 to 9.5 meters wide, and the length under consideration is about 2.2 kilometers. For the required maintenance work, we are considering once every 2 weeks of grading and a selective ditching and shoulder pull. For the improvement options, we are considering increasing the grading maintenance to once a week, as well as selective calcium stabilization. Next slide, please.
Councilor Rose?
I just have 2 points, and it's nice that these two roads actually line up together, so I was kind of waiting until you were done, 590. But 590 and 130, the Eagle River Road, they end up being, there's campgrounds on those roads. So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, we're an extremely seasonal bunch, and with these campgrounds that are out there, have you looked at increasing the service level during those busy times? Because you get a long weekend and the Eagle River Road just gets pounded. So for the 2 months that we get that are the school's out and people are absolutely wearing their cars out, running out and back and forth to those areas, we might be able to get away with increasing the maintenance during a certain period of time of the year, and then falling back to a regular usage, just because of the type of attraction that's at the end of some of those roads. Have you looked at anything like that?
Ms. Jeff?
Through the chair to Councilor Burrows, I thank you for raising that point. We did not consider a shorter period of time during the summer, but this is definitely part of the conversation of rotation-based grading versus condition-based grading.
Right.
I noted, and if we ever implement this program, then it's definitely something we'll use our resources in a smart way.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, thank you for the question. Moving on to the next roadway that we looked at. We looked at Range Road 113A or the Woodlands Estate. Now, we know that this road was previously oiled and was just previously pulverized. The road that we saw had a width of about 9 meters, and the length under consideration is about 660 meters. For the required maintenance work, we are considering grading at once every 2 weeks and a ditching and shoulder pulling. For the improvement options, we are considering, recognizing there was a previously oiled, a cold mix paving with a base course there. But we've also considered a calcium stabilization and a double seal coat layer with a base course. Moving on to the next road that we looked at Horn Road or Range Road 130. The photo shows just a freshly graded kind of portion there. Next slide, please. So we saw for this roadway about 9 meters in width, and the length under consideration is about 2.3 kilometers. I just wanted to note here as well that the first 300 meters of this road was previously stabilized with the geocell. For the required maintenance work, we are considering grading at once every 2 weeks, as well as selective ditching and shoulder pulling. For the improvement options, we are considering increasing the grading maintenance to once a week and selective calcium stabilization. But for option, we also considered simply just a dust abatement and a cold mix paving with a base course. Moving on, please. Next road that we looked at, Township Road 590B that turns into Range Road 110. This particular roadway, I think the photo shows there, if you can see some washboarding as it goes uphill. This roadway we saw had widths varying from 10 meters to 12.5 meters. The length under consideration is 3.6 kilometers. For the required maintenance work, we have considered grading at once every week and a ditching and shoulder pulling. For the improvement option, we have considered selective calcium stabilization. Next roadway that we looked at, Range Road 104 or Lunera Road. The photo here shows just a freshly graded roadway there. Next slide, please. We saw the roadway width to vary to be about 8 meters, and the length under consideration is about 6.3 kilometers. This particular roadway wasn't too bad, but we had feedback, so we looked at it. That being said, we are recommending this for a continued monitoring for condition. But for the required maintenance work, we have considered grading at once every 2 weeks and a selective ditching and shoulder pull.
Through the chair to the council administration, this road about 11 or 12 years ago had a complete rebuild. The whole road was ripped up with cats and scrapers, and all the black dirt and everything was taken out from underneath the road and brought back to the proper road height with a meter ditch in it. So if the ditches are growing in already, it doesn't take long.
To sum up the program, we're presenting the program based on our observations, our investigation, and recommend various different options for council to discuss and ask questions so that we can build them into the respective sub-program budgets for next year. So the next step from this point on, after today's presentation, we'll continue working on our budget. We prioritize the work so that the work can be in concert with other sub-programs. It just makes financial sense to do shoulder pull, ditching, culverts, like all those work together while you have all the equipment and staff there. There's going to be a economy of scale for the county, and that's why we want to prioritize the work that way. Not all the, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, not all the work, if council agrees with all of our recommendations, not all the work can be done in one single year. It has to be a staged process. However, it is our intent to try to do a bit every year based on our resource levels and try to improve these roads to provide people a better roads to drive on. Just through the budget process, we'll identify the resource needs because we haven't been doing much of shoulder pull, ditching, culvert work in the past 5 years. It's pretty minimal in the past 5 years. The current staffing levels are not enough to take on additional work. As well, we don't have the necessary equipment to take on the work. So those are the things we still have to look into as part of the budget development process. In terms of the final presentation, will be part of the final budget presentation to council, that you will see the final products of what we are proposing. If implemented, the staff will continue to monitor the efficacy and effectiveness of the work we're trying to do and make adjustments based on lessons learned so we can do a better job.
Just hold you for just a second there, Jeff. Councillor Dean? Councillor Dean?
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, you're breaking up really bad there.
Sorry, you guys can hear me okay?
We can now, yeah.
Okay, I'll try again. So Jeff, what I'm wondering is, are you looking for council to prioritize the roads according to the schedule of improvements that you've listed, or are you and your department going to come to council with a recommendation on a schedule of roads to be addressed?
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, I see I missed one important fact at the beginning of the presentation is when I presented the listing of all 14, I should have said the listing is based on a descending order of priority.
Okay,
So that's,
okay, thank you.
that's in my mind, that's the priority order that we are targeting the improvements.
Councillor Wilhelm?
Gotcha.
Actually, I'll wait till your presentation's done, then I'll comment.
Okay, my presentation is done. I'm on to the last page of questions.
Councillor Wilhelm?
So I just wanted to comment, Jeff, I want to thank you and your team. This is amazing. This is the type of information that we've been waiting on for a long time to make decisions on. It hasn't particularly been laid out like this ever that I can think of. So it makes, one, you justifying how the decisions should be made moving forward and why they should, and then gives us the information so that we can help with that decision making. So I want to give you kudos to you and your team, knowing the capacity that you guys have. What you've been able to put together here in the short amount of time that you've been there is amazing. So great job there. And two, this also allows us to now communicate with the residents what our potential path forward can be here, right? This and then what happens at a budget time is going to be an excellent tool for discussion with the residents concerned in these areas on timing and our plan moving forward. And that's all they've been asking for, and that's something that I think that's going to be a huge benefit for us and for you. So again, I don't know how much more I can give you kudos, but it's just this one, and I think the one coming up soon next is fantastic job. So thank you.
Councillor Coogan and Councillor Rose.
Yeah, through the chair to Jeff and all. This is just a breath of fresh air, and it does the things that Councilor Wilhelm said, does those, but what it also does for our organization is it shows what our primary responsibility to our residents is going to be, and it's going to further reinforce our ICF negotiations, because we will be able to actually say these are some of the serious things that we need to have done. This is great work. This is the first time I've seen something like this in 3 years, and I really appreciate it.
Councillor Rose?
Yeah, not through the chair, sorry, not to get I don't want your head to get so big you can't get in a piece of equipment. So, but yeah, this is fantastic. I haven't seen anything close to this in my time on council. And the only thing that I'm going to ask a question, I guess this is of council, is that the recommendation is to accept the gravel road condition for information. Should we not be forwarding this to the 2025 budget deliberations? Because there are numerous options that are laid out in here. They all have impact on the budget, and I see this being a real budget concern. So something, in my time on council, when we adopt for information, it basically means, okay, we've seen it, and that's where it goes. So I guess to administration and council, would we be amenable to bringing it that way?
Administration. Yeah.
I think Jeff, through the chair, I think Jeff mentioned that it'll be coming back to the budget, but it certainly in the resolution makes it for the public that it's going there.
Councillor Prestage first.
Through the chair, to the council and administration. But once a month, I will get in my truck and I'll drive around my area to see how the roads are and everything. And I did it last Sunday on some specific roads. And I have to say, these roads are the best I've seen in my time on council and even before that. So you keep saying in the last 5 years, I'm saying it's way before that. The roads are not being properly done. So in the short time you've been here, there is a marked improvement in what you're doing. The roads are smooth, there's lots of gravel on them. So I commend you for what you're doing.
Councillor Rose, you want to?
I was good, I
Okay.
think.
Councillor Wilhelm?
Through the chair to administration, Jeff. So going back to, let's say, page 6, where you've got your summary of the condition improvement program and list of priorities, would it be safe to say, like, you've got in the third column, required maintenance cost, and then your improvement options cost recommended for that road? We would then, if we did proceed for some of these road sections where we've done the improvement cost, the recommended improvement cost options, those required maintenance costs year over year should start to decrease as well, correct? Like in some places like Bison, if we did your improvement of going recold mixing or whatever, you wouldn't need to grade it anymore. So improvement costs would actually decrease on some of these roads. If we did a 1 year improvement cost increase on it, we could see overall year to year base maintenance costs decrease.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, it has to be road specific. You raised the example of Bison. If we don't go with the improvement option, we still need to do the required maintenance work.
Right.
So that price tag is going to be there year after year. Granted, the grading cost will be year after year, but the ditching and shoulder pull will be once every 10, 20, 30 years, whenever on a as needed basis. If you decided to go with the recommended option of paving it, then the grading cost will go away. The ditching cost and shoulder pull cost is still going to be there every once 20, 30 years. But then you also have to add in plowing cost, right?
Okay.
So you have to look at the road specifically. I can't give you a blanket answer.
No problem. It was just working it through my head, if we're going to do, if we pick the first 3 options on here, the improvement options that you've included, then next year when it comes and you've got a required maintenance cost on it, it could be decreased, right? Because we've actually improved the road so much that it doesn't require as much maintenance on a week to week basis type thing. I'm assuming that's why you want to do ditch pulls and all that kind of stuff. It can help with maintenance costs in the long term.
So the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, yes, there's definitely the belief that we'll see the costs go down. I do want to highlight for example, the calcium stabilization. Calcium stabilization is more of a yearly thing. If you start doing that, they probably want to continue. Otherwise, the residents, they're going to experience very different condition levels year after year, right? So that program you probably want to continue, and that becomes part of the required maintenance cost.
Right.
Move them over to column.
One last question, sorry. Just with regards to stabilization on the roads, does that decrease the amount of times it needs to be graded weekly or like bi-weekly or whatever? Like if you don't stabilize, do you need to grade it more? Or if you start to stabilize, you can decrease your grader beat on that road?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, it is our belief that once you do calcium stabilization, you can reduce. So let's say before you do calcium stabilization, you need to do twice a week. With calcium stabilization, in principle, you can probably reduce that to a lower number. At the beginning of my presentation, I said I cannot quantify. It's just not something I can quantify. There's the general belief, it's the general knowledge. It's not something we've been tracking as data that I can prove.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Any other questions, comments? And thank you very much for this. This was absolutely fantastic and a great presentation. Your team has done an amazing job. If I can, Councillor Gross.
Yeah, we'll make I'm gonna change from the recommended action to the one that we're talking about earlier, if council's amenable to that, but we'll find out in a minute. I'll make a motion that council forwards the gravel road condition improvement presentation for consideration for the 2025 budget discussions.
If I can just say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Please. If from now to budget presentation, if councillors have any questions, comments on the program, thoughts, please send it to administration. That will help us in development of the budget. Thank you.
Okay. Motion on the floor. Any discussion on that motion? Not seeing any. Call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Again, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
track. 8.1, strategic plan review.
We had a previous resolution of council to host a strategic plan review, and we had a brief discussion last week or the week before about whether you wanted to bring that forward or whether you wanted to delay that until after the next election. And we are recommending that you delay the 2022 to 25 strategic plan review until after the 2025 election.
I know our discussion was around capacity and time that we have left, so I'm for just postponing this until after the elections. Councillor Coolton?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that council delay the 2022 to 25 strategic plan review until after the 25 election.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question in favor. And that's carried. 9.1, 2025 to 2029 ditching program.
Sorry, just 1 minute to load up the
No
presentation.
worries.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council, similar to the culvert programs, I prepared another program on ditching to make a presentation on. I should acknowledge that the great work from Kara Kennedy, who supplied me with all the data that I need for this presentation and budget preparation. So I want to, next page, please. So I want to start with just discussing the importance of ditching for roads. Ditches are imperative to collect drainage so that road subgrade does not get saturated. And regardless of what surface type that the road surface is on. Over time, ditches naturally gain elevation due to vegetation decay or just material being pushed down to the ditch. A road without adequate ditches will experience soft spots, washboarding, concerns from landowner regarding drainage. Okay, I'll keep going. Next page. We've been collecting ditch data for the past 2 years. Since 2021, we've been doing that. We know we have some gaps in the data. For example, the data doesn't show us in a kilometer road how many meters of ditch, which side of the road that we need to do ditching. Is kind of taking an average data across the board. But still, it's a good starting point that we can use for budgetary conversations. We collect information such as the ditch depth, the side slope, the crown, the ditch bottom width, and the road width, all those information. We have taken a review of the data to determine maintenance priorities. We have assigned costs to the different maintenance priorities and developed potential budget scenarios. So again, asset management, you heard this from me before, it's a journey, it's not a destination. We started with no data whatsoever more than 2 years ago, and now we have some data. Over time, we're only going to be better and better, and with better data to make better decisions and suggestions. Next slide, please. So this, I've plotted the data just in a very simple bar graph to show the current condition of our ditches. In our current guideline, the minimum ditch depth is 1 meter. Now, many of the roads were built before the current guideline was in place, so they probably built to a different standard, and over the years, we're not really maintaining our ditches. staff been telling me that most of our ditches are overgrown, and the data shows that. If you see the two bars on the left, those two bars shows the amount of ditches that are substandard based on today's standard. So we have more than 75% of our ditches substandard. Now, is that something to be overly concerned? I want to put your mind at ease. It's not something that you need to be overly concerned. It is substandard, but if it's to the point that's causing issues, then we should probably know of it through another means already. So we propose that we prioritize our work towards the one that's with the shallowest ditch because they have the highest priority. That's why I grouped the substandard columns into two, one from 0 to 0.5, that's basically flat ditch to 0.5 meter of a ditch, and then the second column, or second bar, shows the ditch that's between 0.5 to 1. We propose that we try to take care of the 0 to 0.5 column first in the next 5 years and see how far we can go, because that column itself represents 199 kilometers of county roads, and we have a total of roughly 900 kilometers of county roads. By addressing that, we are taking care of most of our problems. We have to take a risk management approach. We just can't be doing 650 kilometers roughly between the two left columns all at once. We just can't take care of that kind of program. And out of 199 kilometers of road, if you spread that out to 5 years, that's roughly about 40 kilometers a year. Just on a very high level estimate. Next page, please. So what do we see in the field? I tried to reduce the number of slides, so put 4 pictures together. You may have to zoom in to see, but all these pictures show that we have almost no ditch in some of the roads that we traveled and we found. And some of the pictures also show that at a place where we have no ditch, you can also clearly see the washboarding on the road. We do believe there's a correlation between no ditch and poor road condition. Next page, please. So the next 2 slides, I just simply plot the ditch depth 0 to 0.5 onto our county maps. The first page shows the Whitecourt area, and the next page shows the Ford area. It's a little bit harder to see, but it's the pink dash lines that shows the road segments. You may have to zoom in to see. We're a little bit limited in mapping, and we have to go with the default in Catalyst to pick the colors. But the overall picture I want to present is we have roads with shallow ditch depths everywhere. It's not concentrated in one area. It's in the Whitecourt area, it's in the Ford area. Next page, please. So in a proposed 5-year ditching program, we, as I mentioned, we want to focus on the ditch depth that's less than 0.5 meters deep. We want to complete the ditching work in collaboration with other programs, try to generate some economy of scale and some cost saving for the county. We want to spread out the work as equally as possible over the 5-year course, as well as over the 2 shop areas. Because if we all concentrate in one shop area, then the other shop area not being looked after. In terms of, I already mentioned that we have a data gap that in the future, as we having a new asset management software, we'll see if there's opportunity to get better data. I mentioned that it's roughly about 40 kilometers a year. However, because we have this data gap, it is possible that we go to the site and it's only 300 meters on one side out of the 1 kilometer that need ditching. So the 40 kilometer can be a high estimate to start with. That's the data we have to work with. I don't have a way to further differentiate that. In in the budget, we will be putting something towards ditching, but I estimate about $5,000 a kilometer. That's kind of the rough cost to do ditching. Next page, please. So on this slide, I try to present the previous year's budgets. In 2022, we have 140 some thousand. 2023, for some reason, it got dropped down to 62. And then in 2024, it got further dropped down to 58. And if my calculation, based on my calculation of $5,000 a kilometer and roughly 40 kilometers a year, that's around $200,000 mark. And that's how I presented the data now. I do want to say that because we haven't gone through a more fulsome budget process in comparing budget between different sub-programs, the number can be reduced when we present to you the final budget. Because if we consider some collaboration with other programs such as shoulder pole and culverts, the number can only go down. I just want to let you know that, and it's not, you're not going to see a full $200,000 across the board. I think it's going to be less. Next page, please. So in terms of next step, we are in the process of developing budget across all the sub-programs we have. We want to compare, we want to do a little bit more work in the ditching program because we also have brushing program need to develop and shoulder pole program need to be developed. We want to look at the overall resource needs in totality, for example, equipment and staff. It's not very effective if I keep looking at individual programs and not considering the overall impact or savings. For this presentation, I'm presenting the overall picture. I'm not presenting you which road we're going to work on next year. We have to allow some time for our area supervisors in early 2025 to go out again to confirm their priorities, and also giving them the chance to set up their overall program. Because if there's a ditching need that's in collaboration with shoulder pole, I want them to do them together. And I want to allow them the chance through the winter to come up with their more detailed plan. But I do want to set some budgets so that we can, at least we can proceed with some work. In carrying out the work, we have to do first call. We have to set up work zone signage because these work are not quick. They generally take a good week for, say, a kilometer of road ditching. So we do have to recognize the challenges it may cause to people traveling there, living there. Next page, please. That's the end of my presentation. I'm open to any questions you may have.
Councilor Prestage?
Through the chair to Jeff. When we were rebuilding roads years ago, like on the Niagara Road, there's sections, all there is a V-ditch, especially on the east side of the road. And that was caused by, wasn't enough room. The whole road was moved over and there wasn't enough room to put a flat bottom ditch in it. And they didn't want to buy any more land from the resident or the landowner. So I don't know if there's something we can do about it now, but with just a straight V ditch, it's gonna get overgrown in no time. And I don't know if we have any more, but years ago, the road allowance was 20 meters wide. Now it's 30 meters wide. So I'm sure we have some of our old roads that haven't been upgraded are still at 20 meters. So that's something to look at too, because you can't build an 8-meter road top and have the proper ditches. So just something to think about.
Councilor Willow?
Chair to Jeff, with regards to resource needs, we will need to acquire a small dozer then, or we have one already?
So the chair to Councilor Wilhelm, we don't have a small dozer. But in order to carry out ditching work, we will need a small dozer. The grader can work in the side slope, but they can't get into the ditch.
Thank you.
I do want to highlight one more thing. I made a comment that there's going to be maybe some savings with other programs. This is one of those areas. A small dozer can also be used for brushing. That you take care of two programs at the same time, at the same location, same expense.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing any. Somebody want to make a motion? Counselor Wilhelm? Oh, sorry, Counselor Dean, I missed your hand there. Counselor Dean?
Yeah, through the chair, thanks again. Once again, I just want to commend Jeff and his group for bringing this type of information. It really helps us paint the budget story.
Counselor Wilhelm?
A motion that council moves the 2025 to 2029 ditching program to the 2025 budget deliberations.
Thank you, Counselor. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any public questions, all in favor? That's carried. Now this, we're just about an hour and a half. You guys want to take a 10-minute break? We'll take a 10, we'll be back here at 10 after 11. So let us know when we're off there, Alina.
they're kind of lost in the ether.
So let me know when we're good to go. We're ready? Okay, it's 13 after. We're back. 9.2, 2025 capital and operating budget review dates.
Right, we're preparing for budget, and we would like council to set a few dates aside so that we can work through the budget with them, and we've got 4 dates proposed. 2 during the week of November 25th, 1 on December 4th or the week of, and then a final budget, hopefully on December 11th.
Okay, and I see in the background here that there will be a poll distributed for council to pick dates. So at this point, we're just looking for information or a motion to have the poll distributed.
Unless, we can do the poll unless you can give us dates today.
Corinne?
I would like the recommended action, please, because we will be scheduling special council meetings for this, so I would like the resolution to schedule the 4 special council meetings. And this will be after the poll is distributed, but I would like the resolution, please, and thank you.
So the resolution is just to set 4 dates, so.
So does council want to try to pick the dates today, or do we want to do a poll? Are we doing morning, like daytime meetings, evening meetings?
Administration will be polling council for full available schedule, so morning and evening.
Okay, so would council want to try to pick these, or do we want to just get the poll and set out the information? What would be easier for council?
I'm good to pick up today.
Devin? Councilor Rose?
I'm fine with picking them today. I got a few dates that don't work for me, but
Okay, Councilor Dean?
I can pick dates today.
Okay, Councilor Wilhelm?
I can try.
Okay, so we'll start with the week of November 25 to 29.
I'm good all week.
And are we looking days or evenings, what works for council?
Doesn't matter.
I'm good either way. I'm good all week.
I know we have with Councilor Williams with your work schedule and Councilor Wilhelm with your work schedule, what would be preferable?
25th would be best for me.
Are we talking days or evenings?
Anytime.
Anytime?
Or
on
else
25th?
evenings later in the week. I work from the 26th to 29th.
I just said 25th and 27th evenings. I'm busy on that week.
So should we do a morning meeting the 25th and then an evening meeting later on in the week on one of the dates that
Councilor
works?
Rose?
so I can do the morning of the 25th. Well, morning or later afternoon on the 25th, but the rest of that week I'm on a strat planning session with RMA.
So that puts us down one counselor for the rest of that week.
What about the week after then? Can we maybe do that
meetings, so
one?
December week?
I'm good there too. Right now.
That's the week of the 2nd to the 6th.
Yeah, second, I have a board meeting on the 2nd, meeting Monday of the 2nd evening. Wednesday evening, we have MPC.
We will also have council on the 4th. That'll be an evening meeting, so we could consider maybe doing a special budget meeting before, if it works for our
The
team.
5th, we have landfill and West End bus, the next days. During the morning. Landfill is in the afternoon and West End bus is in the afternoon.
For the 4th, do we want a special council meeting before our council meeting to do the budget?
I'm good with that. I'm
Yeah.
good all day.
Do we have the availability to do one more that week?
I do.
Is there another date that works in the evening?
I could do the 3rd, the 5th, or the 6th in the evening.
Yeah, they all work for me as well.
Yeah, I'm good all for the evenings.
Evenings kind of work any day for me.
Al? Okay, Al.
I'm good all those days,
John, how's your?
or evenings.
Which days did you mention?
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Tuesday, which is
Third,
third,
fifth, sixth.
fifth, sixth? Yeah, either, any of those days work for me.
What would administration,
Probably not the Friday evening.
do we want to do? Well, do you
Friday
want
evening, 8 p.m.?
to Do the 5th, and then if there's carryover from the meeting on the 4th, we can bring that into the Thursday meeting?
Sure. 5th evening?
Yeah, 5th evening. And then December 10 or 11 and 12, or 10, 11, or 12, a meeting.
I'm good all week.
11 and 12, the evenings mine are full, but I'm free evening of the 10th or any time of the day those 3 days. The evening of the 10th works for you?
10th works for me.
Sounds good.
Al, would the evening of the 10th work?
Yeah,
Jeremy, would the evening of the 10th work? So the 10th evening. So just to reiterate here, we have morning on the 25th.
Yep.
Special budget meeting the 4th before our council meeting. The 5th, an evening meeting, and the 10th, an evening meeting.
So on the 4th, would we just do a 9:30?
No, that's
Or-
an evening
That's an evening
meeting,
council
so
meeting?
it'll be 3 hours before that.
3 hours? Okay.
Yeah. So we're looking for kind of 2 to 3 hour blocks.
So afternoon of the
Jeremy, is
4th.
that gonna be, Counselor Wilhelm, is that okay for you?
I will make it work when I can. If I'm out of town, I'm out of town. I'll just zoom in if I have to.
Okay, again, checking those times.
Yeah.
If I can get do we need a motion for all the days, or can we just?
Scheduled as, 4 special council meetings scheduled as discussed, please.
Somebody wants to make that motion for 9-2, Councilor Burrows?
I can make the motion that we schedule 4 special meetings for budget purposes on the dates discussed.
Thank you, Councilor. Motion on the floor, call the question, all in favor? Thank you, Al.
Dave, can you just give me those dates again, please? I just want to write them down.
November 25th, that'll be a morning meeting. December 4th, the afternoon before the council meeting, it's an evening council meeting. December 5th in the evening, and December 10th in the evening. And administration will send out calendar invites.
I'll get those out really quickly.
Thank you. Okay, 9.3 level of service report, Mr. Hawken.
All right, so we've been through the level of service report with Mr. Rudick, and the GNP committee recommended it come to council for approval. So we're just providing it for council again to approve as presented.
Councilor Wilhelm?
A motion that council adopt the level of service report as presented and incorporated as part of the annual service plan review.
Thank you, Counselor. Discussion on that motion? Not seeing any, call the question, all in favor? And that's carried. 9.4 Cold Mix Road Review.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. I want to, next page, please. I want to start the presentation just to talk about a proper road structure. A proper road structure consists of multiple layers, and the different layers, they depend on each other to make a road function. A typical road structure consists of the subgrade, a subbase, a base course, and then the surface. The reason I want to just talk about that is because our county roads, most of our county roads are not built to the standard cross section of what a road structure should be. But as I said, the layers they depend on each other to make a good performing road. Next page, please. There are differences between oil roads, cold mix roads, and hot mix roads. there are differences between what base course material to use. We, as Willets County, we have an inventory of raw roads, we have inventory of oil roads, we have cold mix roads, we have hot mix roads. When it comes to the hard surface roads, like the oil and cold mix roads, we the supporting structure, which is the base course, is very important in providing strength for the road. And then the longevity of the road. Our roads range from having zero supporting structure to having some supporting structure. I just want to lay that out there as a picture for you. Generally speaking, our grid roads, they're built to a slightly higher standards. Through the review, we found our grid roads tend to having a higher potential of having the proper structure, whereas our subdivision roads generally don't have the supporting structure. Next page, please. So as council is aware, we hired McElhenney back in April 2024 to conduct a coal mix road review. We asked them to review all the county coal mix as well as oiled surface roads. The McElhenney, they've reviewed a total of 65 kilometers of oiled and coal mix roads in the county. The CASON has performed visual inspection as well as ground penetrating radar as well as fallen weight deflectometer on select roads to gather their field data. The CASON have also looking to different rehabilitation strategies on the roads and come up with cost estimates to support their recommendation. The cost estimates provided by the CASON is based on the assumption that individual road segments are being constructed by a contractor in isolation, so those numbers are probably inflated if we are combining all the projects together in a larger contract. Or if we use county staff to do some of the work, there may be a cost saving as well. The CASON has produced a report, which I believe Mr. Hawken will be.
It's already said.
Okay, it's already provided to council. Next page, please. My presentation here is to present council as a summary of the report, what the CASON have observed and as well as recommended. So the first page here shows the coal mix and oil roads we have in the Fort area. Again, for the coloring, yellow is excellent, green is good, blue is fair, orange is poor, and the red is critical. And next page, please. In the Whitecourt area, we have a few more kilometers of coal mix and oil roads, and we also have a few more kilometers of critical and poor roads in the Whitecourt area. As you can kind of gather from the picture, many of the short studs of critical are our subdivision roads. The few roads that's colored in yellow, which is excellent. That's Gibson's, Westridge, Comfortable 592, as well as Flats. 3 of the roads were rehabbed this year, and Flats was done in 2021, I believe. So next page, please. I also grouped the data just in a simple bar graph to show you. In terms of critical, we have about 12% of the entire network being in the critical condition. About 28% of our network is in the poor condition. 27% of our network is in the fair condition. And then we have good and excellent. Try to give you a presentation of the overall condition of asset. Next page, please. So the CASON, as I mentioned, has considered a number of rehabilitation options. Without going through each of them, they are pretty similar to what I presented to you through the RFDs. Sorry.
Just a quick question. What is a fog code?
Through the chair, a fog coat is essentially spraying oil on top of surface. Over time, cold mix and hot mix roads, they oxidize, the asphalt oil oxidize and decay just from sunlight. And a fog coat, it's simply spray oil on top so that you're providing a watertight surface again to replace all those decayed oil.
Thank you. That's well.
So that second option then would be taking a degraded road, pulverizing it, relaying it down, and then spraying oil over top of it. The pulverize and rejuvenate existing with apply fog coat.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, you're right, except one addition is the rejuvenation means that once you pulverize, you're also injecting a binder,
Okay.
typically an oil-based chemical, to stabilize it.
Right. Okay.
If I can continue.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the options, without reading through every single one of them, they're quite similar to the ones I presented to you before in the RFD. And the consultant also provided estimated lifespans of each option, plus the per kilometer cost estimates to rehab. And once again, the cost estimates are on the high side because the consultant assumed 1 kilometer, you're only doing 1 kilometer road by a contractor. If you're doing multiple kilometers and using a portion of our staff's and our machinery, the price would obviously go down.
Yep.
Next page, please. So the next 3 slides are just a table highlighting the results. You see the same table in the report that you receive. I just copy paste them over. The first page is on collector roads. In terms of general rating, the column on the left-hand side, 1 means critical, 2 means poor, 3 means fair, 4 means good, and 5 means excellent. And sorry.
That's well.
Through the chair to Jeff, what does AADT mean?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, I should have written all the abbreviations. Average annual daily traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So the first page shows the collector roads, and it provides a rating and a cost estimate for each individual roads. In your report, you'll be able to find in the appendix the length of the road or the mapping for the segments that's being referenced. And next page, please. Next page shows the local collector roads in the exact same way of presentation, but again, 1 means critical, 2 means poor, and 3 means fair. Next page, please. This is the last table that summarizes the results, but this is for subdivision roads. I know you can't read it, but I just try to copy paste them onto the slide. In the report, you'll be able to blow it up and see the details. But what the details show is we have a sizable backlog in poor and critical condition for our subdivision roads. So if you recall from the previous 2 pages, especially the collector roads, we don't have any critical ones. But we do have some critical ones in local collector, and we have lots of critical ones in the subdivision roads. And the geographical representation in my slide also show that. Next page, please. So in terms of a program development, this presentation is focused on the need to present council with the current picture, and also present council with what the consultant recommendation for priorities and recommended strategies. The data collected and rating are quite valuable in terms of how we program for future work. The program development will prioritize based on condition of the road. For example, the critical conditions are the ones giving the highest level of priority. In terms of budget development, we also need to consider neighborhood roads. So if you have a critical road in a subdivision with other poor roads, you may just take care of the whole subdivision at the same time, rather than mobilizing twice at the same location over 2 different years. I do want to take the opportunity to just put a bug in council's ears that the consultant's report is purely focused on rehabilitation strategies. That's like if you have an old grader, you just send for a rebuild. Whereas in terms of pavement management, corrective maintenance and preventive maintenance are equally as important, or sometimes even more important than rehabilitation. Like your own vehicle, you try to take care of maintenance needs on the spot. You don't try to delay a maintenance need and make the maintenance need go bigger. That's the intent of having a corrective and preventive maintenance program. $1 you spend in maintenance early enough in the life cycle save you $10 in the future. And I don't want to take the focus away from the importance of maintenance programs. This report from consultants is purely focused on rehabilitation. I just want to take the opportunity to talk about the front end. A life cycle pavement management system is certainly something I want to develop in the next few years, and so that we can manage our assets in the more fulsome life cycle basis, and to achieve a cost saving for the county. Next slide, please. So just following up on my previous slide, through the budget development process, we, as I mentioned, we'll take a look at the priority, the location, budgetary considerations, the grouping of projects. The actual year of construction is and discussion and decision on which option to choose. That's something for council to decide at the time of budget. You may be curious about how much money we need to budget for the next, say, 5 to 10 years. I know on the budget we have $650,000 for the next 5 years. For the next 4 years, 5 years, the first year is this year. Is it enough based on the report? It's probably not enough. But is it going to be $1.6 million every year? Probably not either. Because if you add up all the segments on the previous 3 slides, that add up to about $16 million. That's the cost to rehabilitate all of our county cold mix roads. $16 million. You stretch that out to 10 years. Every year you should be spending about 1.6. If you're curious about where the number is going to be, it's probably going to be between these 2 numbers. It's probably not going to be on the top end. It's not going to be on the low end. But you'll be presented with the numbers at the time of budget. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Councilor Prestige?
Through the chair to Jeff. What is our situation with our own pulverizer? I know we were having issues. We had one that totally broke down, and then I think we bought another old one or something.
Through the chair to Councilor Prestige, we have 2, and both of them are not working. I do believe I put them onto the surplus list that I took to council. So we're getting rid of them. If your question is about the future, I have to see what council decides on the future of Colmix, because there's also policy decisions need to be part of this, and my presentation is not about the policy. This is purely based on the report, and depending on where a county as a level of service goal for the future, then we consider what the resource needs are.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is, if we're gonna do some roads with our own staff, it's pretty hard to do them without our own pulverizer. Where would we hire somebody to do that?
Through the chair to Councilor Prestige, you can certainly buy a pulverizer yourself. You can also hire a contractor to do. Lusignan County has a pulverizer themselves. The machine costs $1 million.
I know
it's not cheap. And if let's say we have total of 65 kilometers. If you do 10% every year, 6 kilometers, you have to run an economic analysis to see whether it makes sense.
Councilor Rose?
Thank you, through the chair to administration. I guess I had talked to one of my residents down one of the cold mix roads, and they noticed some kind of oil blooming in the ditch after they got done with this, and their concern in the area was that they're running surface wells, so they're concerned with, you know, what it is that we're doing on the roads, and is it going to leach into the water supply and some of these things. Is there anything environmentally, like within our considerations, that we should be looking at, or are there any dangers of that leaching in?
So to share to Councilor Burrows, I am not aware of any environmental risks. Power rising at the same time with a asphalt oil addition is a pretty common strategy that implemented by many different counties and MDs. Even the province have roads that have stabilized base course with asphalt oil. So I'm not aware of any environmental risk.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? By Mr. Hawkins?
Through the chair to council and to Jeff, I just want to reiterate a thank you to Jeff for doing these. Councilor Wilhelm said, I don't know how many more kudos I can give. Well, just don't stop. That's a good start. So just to let council know, I think there's about 6 areas left, and you're probably not going to get them all done before budget, because I almost killed Jeff getting these ones done. So we're going to lay off on them a little bit, but there's the bridges, the hot mix roads, the fleet, the brushing, the water, wastewater, and the buildings, I think, are the ones left. But the amount of time that he's taking to put these together it's unreasonable to think they'll all be done before budget. But again, he's done an excellent job on these reports.
Still got about 2 weeks left, so.
I know.
Thank you, Jeff. Your presentations and the information you've been giving us today has been fantastic. And again, kudos to your team. The information that you brought, it's definitely not just something off the cuff. So it's very, very much appreciated by everybody here. With that, can I get a motion for 9.4?
This one will go to budget too.
Councilor Williams.
I'll make a motion, council accepts the Cold Mix Road review presentations information.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Hawkins?
Just a question on maybe a friendly amendment, whether it should go to budget as well, the same as the other 2 reports.
Yeah, I'd accept that and forward it to budget deliberation.
Okay, thank you for the friendly amendment. With that, motion to move it to budget deliberations. Any questions to that motion? Not seeing any, call the question, all in favor? And that one's carried. Correspondence information items, 10.1, anything there? Who wants to make a motion? Councilor Wilhelm?
Motion the council accept the correspondence and information items as circulated.
Thank you, Councilor. Call the question, all in favor? That's carried. 11.1, Councilor reports and questions. Start with Councilor Williams.
Cool. I recently attended a ACTEV meeting. We had a really good presentation from the Chamber of Commerce there. Talked about lots of the stuff in the area, some opportunities to work with some of our neighboring communities, and it's really good presentation. They're also hosting the trunk or treat this Saturday. I'm unable to attend that, but there are some councillors that will be there, so that I guess was very well attended last year, and so staff was running around pretty good, I guess. Actually, I'll be at the fire department in Fort Assiniboine. We'll be hosting a haunted house there, so if anyone's not going to that event wants to come up there, they're all welcome. That was all I was going to go over.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilor Williams? Not seeing any. Councilor Prestige?
To the chair, on the 7th, I attended the Zone 3 meeting in Edmonton. It was kind of a light meeting, some good information. And then on the 9th, attended, we had our council meeting and then we had a land use bylaw info session here. It was not very well attended, there was 3 people showed up, so that wasn't very good. And, on the 16th, we had our Regional Solid Waste Management Authority regular meeting. We talked about the new, or our cat that got rebuilt. There's considerable savings rebuilding it and purchasing a new one. We talked about the scale house.
The budget portion of the scale
Yeah.
house and shack and trying to get that locked down.
Yeah, so. And then, we had our CAO interviews on Monday and Tuesday, and that was it.
Any questions for Councilor Prestidge? Councilor Rose?
Yes, thank you, Kush. So from the 10th to 11th, I got to go attend a SMR forum at Edmonton, small modular reactor. It was actually interesting to see how far along some of the provincial and federal guidelines on this are. And I think at the moment we are 1,000 megawatts off in the province for power generation where we were prior to shutting down all the coal fires. So the reality is that we've got environmental constraints for generating power, and we're going to have to start to look to some new sources. So we ran into some fantastic presentations, actually quite a few ministers there as well from the province that we got to talk to, and I think we were the only municipal people, myself and Councillor Dean were there, probably the only municipal people that were in the room, so I think that it shows that we're looking far ahead here. So the second part would be the GNP meeting on October the 16th, and then all that I've got going on with RMA and the elections coming up. I would like to add 2 notices of motion. Some of them coming out of this, one of them coming out of this infrastructure conversation that we were having. So this would be making motions just to bring 2 items to the GNP, and I'll do them separately. So and administration can get them there when they have time for the GNP. I'm not expecting this to happen tomorrow, but to have a look at our. So my first notice of motion would be to bring the dust control policy to the GNP meeting and have that conversation between stabilization and dust control, so that policy will align. That's my end of my motion.
So first motion, call the question, all in favor? Okay.
And my second motion would be, I had a resident that's having some speed issues, and this has been brought up, I think we've talked about it, Councillor, a couple of councillors have brought up some subdivision speeds and things like this, so I dug into our traffic bylaw, and our traffic bylaw is a little light when you compare it to some of the other municipalities. So they'll have specific roads broken out and say that, in a subdivision we have this particular speed limit, in this in an industrial area we have this particular speed limit, and then specific roads that are broken out with specific speed limits. Ours doesn't have any of that at the moment, and it's all at the behest of CAO and infrastructure. And I think just to update policy and our traffic bylaw would be a good idea to have a look at it. I noticed some incongruencies, like, you hit the airport road, for example, and there's no kids in there, but it's a 30 zone. And I don't know anyone that drives 30 going all the way into the airport. So just for the sake of updating the policy, I'd like to make a notice of motion that we bring the traffic bylaw to GNP as well in the future.
Thank you. No discussion, I'll call the question, all in favor? And that one's carried.
That concludes my reports unless there's any questions.
Any other questions for Councilor Burrows? Not seeing any. Councilor Dean? Maybe. We'll go over to Councilor Wilhelm.
Yeah, I don't have too much to report on. As you guys know, I've been away a bit for work. I did participate on the 10th with the staff on an HSE audit, so we're going through how HSE affects council and what our understanding, or what my understanding of was with Woodlands HSE policies. And then I missed all the other stuff, so I don't have anything to report on there, but I did want to give, I said you can't give too many kudos, I'll give another kudos. The work done on the cold mix rehabilitation that's happened in my region, and I'm assuming in Councilor Burrow's region, has made a lot of people happy. And as I said, going into Thanksgiving, people were giving a lot of thanks about that work that was completed. So I just want to thank the staff again for that. You were tasked to fix a long-term problem in a short amount of time, and you guys did a great job doing it. And those residents have never been happier, so thank you.
So I'm gonna try Councilor Dean one more time here. Councilor Dean?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me, Reed Cush?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, my apologies. I get feedback on my end, and apparently you guys don't, so I'm gonna rattle through this pretty quickly. October 7th, I attended the zone meeting along with Councilors Prestich, Burrow, and Cush. On the 9th and 10th, along with Councilor Burrow, I was at the Small Modular Reactor Conference, and as Councilor Burrows indicated, it was a wealth of information, and we'll see where this goes. 16th, I was interviewed by AHS in the Regional Advisory Committee capacity. I'd been nominated by MLA Van Dyken to be interviewed for that committee. 16th, there was also a GMP meeting, as previously discussed. On the 17th, we had an ECDEV meeting. Councilor Williams indicated for the been in Calgary at the Greenhouse Gas Technology conference, which again has been a very good learning experience for me to understand the processes and how this industry might apply to our county. And that's everything.
Any questions for Councilor Dean? Or I guess questions for Councilor Wilhelm? I skipped over that. Seeing any? Councilor Kuchen?
Yeah, I just, after the last council meeting, I was here at the land use one and was a bit disappointed that I didn't get a sense of the engagement that we have in our area. And I'm not quite sure why. But had some really good conversation with staff, about different possibilities, so that it wasn't a waste of time at all. 17th, I attended the FCSS, my FCSS meeting in Barrhead. Really interesting data coming out of that now is the incredible amount of demand that's on the FCSS. They are definitely hoping that Woodlands County will continue to contribute as our sub-office in Fort-Assiniboine is getting used more and more all the time. So it shows that our participation there is pretty important. And then we went through our CAO interviews, which was a completely new and interesting process for me. Trying to make this decision isn't going to be easy, and that's pretty much it for me.
Any questions for Councilor Kuchen? Right, my last couple weeks actually been fairly busy. Started off after the last council meeting. I made 2 land use bylaw workshops, one Wednesday here at the Whiteboard office and the one out of the Ensemble office. Again, not very well attended here in Whiteboard, a few more people in Ensemble, but I did have, I guess, phone calls and stuff after from my zone, people kind of curious in some of the information you were hearing. Was invited to come and take part of the HSE audit, just like Councillor Wilhelm. Kind of hard answering some of the questions that come up when they're more related to staffing levels, but again, I guess, trying to make some of the questions pertinent for what we see on council versus questions that are asking that are more workforce based. So it was a good experience though. Glad to have been part of that. Was invited to go to the Hilltop High School award ceremony. Phenomenal amount of, like, a very large list of kids from grades, I believe it was 8 or 9 there up to grade 12 with the different awards, and just the capacity that school has and the staffing giving has been fantastic. And I was very, very well appreciated to be invited back there for a second year on that. I had our Waste Authority meeting. Again, it was covered by Councillor Prestige. Made the Whitecourt Fireman's Ball with Councillor Wilhelm, their award ceremony. Great ceremony. My first time attending one. Lots of the stories, talking with some of the firemen that are there, and seeing the number of individuals that they had and the years of service they've had committed to the community has been fantastic. Had a Community Futures board meeting last week. Kind of a year in review, looking at a bunch of the success stories, kind of where they are financially with some of the funding levels they put out, and trying to see ways that we can hopefully try to streamline some of those meetings, because they tend to go fairly long. Last night had a Whitecourt Library Board meeting. One thing coming out of that, we said goodbye to one of the long-standing board members on that board. She's been with the board for a long time and she's moving on, so just kind of bigger and better, and wants to be, I guess, involved in her community in other ways. Something coming out of that though, so council will be aware of, just our 5-year contract that we have with the library is up at the end of next year. So I was talking with Joseph there, and I told him after our budget and stuff in the spring would be a good idea for him to come back and bring his presentation to council, I guess, for a renewal of that contract and kind of move on. They've been very happy with what we've given them. They said as far as ask, they're not really looking to add a whole lot more, change anything that's written in that. They just kind of want to be able to review it for them. Just the comfort of the kind of secured funding is what they were looking for. So again, I recommended for him to bring it to us in the spring, so council is aware that we'll be coming back. I had our CAO interviews, again, first time going through that process, so it's very eye-opening, very positive, and I guess kind of see where the future goes with it, but it's been very, very good process. Had our GNP meeting, and then finally last night I was invited to go to the Eco Society's AGM. It is a fantastic society. What they do for the individuals in need within our area, and what those individuals do within the community, it's fantastic hearing those stories and connecting and meeting with them. And I was very, very honored to be able to show up, and Louise dropped me on the spot and handed me the mic to say some words with the county. So wasn't part of their agenda, but I became part of their agenda. So great society, and I was very glad to be part of that. With that, is there any questions? Not seeing. Councillor Williams?
I'll make a motion that council accepts the council reports and questions.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. 11.2, October 2024 Community Services Operational Report.
Not sure. Oh, there she is.
Good morning, Joan.
Good morning, council. So yeah, sorry, I see that I've got September 2024 down here, but it is October's report, trust me. So just overall, the 4 areas have been focused on the 2025 budget, and those are completed, and we'll be meeting with the CAO to go over those here within the next week or so. Additionally, on protective services, they've been doing a lot of training, the fire departments themselves, as well as the protective services manager's been away doing various training activities. The safety audit, as had been mentioned, is nearing completion and just about ready to be wrapped up, so we'll see what results that comes out of. As far as planning and development, the primary focus has been on the land use bylaw with the open houses as well as the survey. And again, we'll have some more results, and probably this afternoon we have the HMRO presentation to go through. And then we can maybe have another workshop to go through some of that stuff and some of the amendments. Community services, the primary focus has been processing applications and rebates. Economic development, again, a lot of activities happening for the month of October and some back in September. And again, I'd like to thank council for attending some of those functions that ECDEV has been doing. We've got a good one coming up here Saturday, the trunk or treat. I hope those that can attend. And if not, bring grandkids, kids, whatever, out to it. Yeah, so if council has any questions, that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Joan? I do see at the bottom of her presentation, we also have a small business week appreciation this Friday, beginning at 6. There's a code there for registration if any counselors are interested in after the meeting. Recommend taking a look. Any other questions, comments? If not, can I get a motion? Councillor Prestige?
I'll make a motion that council accept the October 2024 Community Service Operation Report as information.
Thank you, Councillor Prestige. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. 11.3 Corporate Services Report. I see we don't have Denisha or...
Denisha's away on vacation, so I'm the guy. Just one correction I want to make in the disaster recovery program. The financial impact of DRP 2023 flood, not 2018 flood, is significant, over $5 million. And then for 2018, we have received our final payment, so we're done for 2018. We're just working on 2023. Asset management system, we've kicked off. We're going. All those programs we're hoping to be implemented by the end of December 2025. And with budget preparation underway, I am meeting the first groups tomorrow actually, to start working on the budget. And that's the report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hawken? Councillor Wilhelm?
Motion that council accepts the corporate services report as information.
Thank you. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. And Mr. Hawken, if you could please let Denisha know that thank you for this. I know she's not here. She's on holidays. It's guaranteed well needed, especially with budget time coming and all the extra workload that's going to be added on her. But we do appreciate what she is doing for us on the other end there. 11.4 October 2024 Infrastructure Service Report. Mr. Zhang.
Thank you, Worship, members of council. I will first provide council with some updates on select capital projects. The first one, number 5, tandem plow truck, we received this week. Last week. And next page on item number 19, we're currently undertaking a road repair, Redro 110. The project is likely going to be completed sometime in November now. Item number 24, the recreation storage floor. We have a contractor started. The floor is just waiting for concrete to cure. Item 26, you have received a presentation today on COMEX review. We have fully utilized the budget that's available this year for Westridge, Gibson, Town 592, as well as the COMEX review. We've fully expanded this year's budget. Item 28, on the next page, the speed indicator sign has been installed in the fort. Item 30, we had a public possession, and my consultant and I just tried to put together some information for next council meeting to give council an update. Item number 35, East Mountain Road, specifically to do with the slide. The slide on East Mountain has been active again, so we are actively monitoring it and trying to find we also have a consultant working on the design to try to find a fix. It's unbudgeted, so it'll be part of next year's budget that we'd be taking back to council. Going on to operations update. For the airport, we had audit in late September, as well as emergency exercise. We have some reports coming that we'll be sharing with council. Winter operation preparations been complete, and we actually already started one winter activity the past weekend. On the water wastewater side, we shut down the RV dump site. We had a sewer backup in the Whitehall shop that's been remedied and repaired. It's recovery from insurance. On the solid waste side, following the meeting with the landfill authority, I had a meeting with town administration to talk about tendering options for the scale and scale house. It appears that a two-tender system will be the best in terms of timing and cost. That we can push out one tender for procurement of the scale and scale house, and a second tender for the physical construction and installation. That way we enjoy more time to build the scale house and scale. So that's probably what we'll be presenting to the authority in the next meeting. On the agriculture side, the season has completed with a few more beaver dams to remove. On the recreation side, the sites that we have been shut down, we're going through the process for equipment maintenance and also clean up from the windstorm that happened in the past weekend. Quite a few fallen trees. On the road side, we still intend to do some line painting touch-up if the weather holds. We had a very busy fall, and for our infrastructure staff, particularly the road staff, and as well as others. We have urgent culvert replacement work that I went to council for in the past, and we are actively working towards getting a quotation package to get some quotes on. The regular road maintenance is ongoing. We are planning to pave a portion of Old Ferry Road. It's from flood damage from last year. Currently left in gravel. We're planning to do some paving there this week. We poured some sidewalk in Blue Ridge. That's in the curing state now. We have some pavement repairs in Blue Ridge. That's also planning for this week. And once again, we're monitoring on the East Mountain Road slide.
So ahead, Councilor Rose.
Sorry, just one question through the chair. That section of Old Ferry that you're doing, that's kind of where the old English horseshoe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are the new culverts in place, those big culverts in place to drain that area before we pave it?
Through the chair to Councilor Burrows, we have one culvert reinstalled last year. This year we installed 2 additional culverts, so there's 3 culverts. There's 3 culverts currently, and that's exactly why we're delaying this paving to waiting for the culverts to be installed.
Perfect, thank you.
And to finish off, on the corporate level, we're very busy working on budget preparations for 2025. We have significant involvement in asset management, as well as new software, and I've already updated the council on the LECOR agreement. Thank you, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Okay, any other questions for Jeff? Councilor Coolgan?
Yeah, I'll move that we accept the September or the infrastructure service status report as information.
Thank you, Councilor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, that one's carried. 11.5, Service Tracker Monthly Report.
Nikita is away at a conference, so just one thing to point out is that up 52%, but there were 20 requests that came in on one road. Had those requests not come in, we'd be bang on with our regular number of requests, so don't know if there's any questions.
You guess which road?
Can't remember.
All right, Councilor Wilhelm?
I'll motion that council accepts the September monthly service tracker report as information.
Thank you, Councilor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. 11.6 CEO report.
All right, just three quick items. Health and safety, the audit is almost complete. We have a meeting in a week, I think, with, to look over some of the reports and results. The budget development, again, the focus on 2025. The multi-year plans will be done in 2025, hopefully for 2026. On the staffing HR side, I've completed the first review of all the HR policies, which will be presented to SMT, and then it'll go to governance and priorities. There's about a dozen policies there. We still have 4 vacancies to be filled, 2 in administration, 2 in infrastructure. And I've been working on a salary review comparison, and we'll present to council in November, I hope. As well, council will be presented with an RFD in November to discuss 2025 cost of living adjustment.
Any questions for Mr. Hawken? Not seeing any. Councilor Williams?
I'll make a motion that council accepts the CEO report as information.
Thank you, Councilor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to our closed meeting portion. Councilor Wilhelm.
Motion we go into closed session, citing FOIP 17, 19, and what was the one for the?
17 and 19.
17 and 19.
Thank you, Councilor. Discussion, the motion. Not seeing any. Call the question. All in favor? And we are in closed session at 12:10.